Hello everybody, welcome and welcome back. If you've been here before, I'm really happy to see you again. My name is Jennifer Irene and I'm talking about astrology. So this video will be about the new moon happening on the 25th of June. And this is an incredibly powerful new moon. I'm gonna share all the reasons why, of course. And yeah, perhaps you've noticed already that there's a lot of things bubbling right now, really churning, a lot of emotions that have been processed, a lot of momentum that has been forming, a lot of grief and anger that has really been fermenting, a lot of inspiration also, a lot of willpower, and all of that energy is like pushing for a way out. We also see this in the world. We have a lot of earthquake, volcanic activity in several countries. And we see that also in the transits that have been happening. Right now, Uranus is in 29 degrees of Taurus. This is the anaretic degree. So this is also a moment where it's like a last push, a last rebellion, a last eruption of something really profound before Uranus changes signs. We have also had the solstice, which is a moment of peak insight, of peak illumination. It's the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere, and it marks the change of a season. Yeah, so this is a turning point that we have just crossed. And now with this intense new moon, we are in the sign of Cancer, in the energy of the home, of the heart, of feeling really sensitive. Yeah, the waters that are really holding information as well. And this is also a time where the focus is shifting also onto the waters and the stories that the waters are telling us, the stories that the waters are holding. We're in a moment where the waters are rising, yeah, globally. We have changes in the climate. We have the consequences of a compilation of actions. So this is a moment where we're feeling all of that and so much more. So the new moon in Cancer is going to happen, as I said, on the 25th of June, and it is in 4 degrees. The moon and the sun are coming together. So this is already a moment where we are really merging the way that we think and the way that we feel. We're merging our need to understand and reflect with our ability to listen to our intuition, but also to nourish. And it's a moment of planting a new seed, a new intention, a moment of renewal, of shedding, and of going inwards. Now this new moon is in conjunction with Jupiter, which does not happen all the time. Yeah, this is a special moment. Once a year, the sun and Jupiter meet up together. This is called a Cazimi. Yeah, when the sun meets another planet. It's such an intense activation. It's like a burning away of old layers, a really profound moment of illumination, of shedding, of burning, of transforming something, of transforming a wisdom. But it can feel super intense, especially right in the moment of the actual precise conjunction. This can be a moment of energies feeling overpowered by each other. This is happening now together with the new moon. So this highlights Jupiter. This highlights the Jupiter energy for us. And Jupiter's energy is already highlighted because there's this square between Jupiter and Neptune and Saturn, marking a really important transit moment from a larger multiple year cycle. Yeah, 20-year cycle within a 200-year cycle, within an 800-year cycle. This is a really, really profound time right now, where we are moving from one epoch to the next epoch. But we're in this moment of transition, yeah? Us right now, we're the generation where everybody who's alive right now is part of a big, big transition. Sometimes it's hard to understand what will come, and it's hard to understand how the things that have been there will leave, but it is happening, things are changing. So this Jupiterian energy in Cancer, in the element of the home, yeah, this is really addressing all of the things that we feel and expanding it, opening up. We're feeling even more, we're feeling it even more intensely. Of course, this also is beneficial for feeling more compassion, really activating more a feeling of of comfort, a sense of being home, a sense of being able to nourish, a sense of being able to take care of the needs, understanding even what those needs are, being sensitive in your approach. But Cancer also is the place where we want to go into hiding, where we want to cover ourselves up and perhaps make us small, where we might not feel comfortable outside of that space. So with Jupiter there, it could also be a moment where we have a tendency to really want to overprotect things. We might want to expand the borders of our home. We might feel like we want to just expand what we feel like is ours. So it's always a really delicate balance to understand the light aspects and the shadow aspects of everything in existence, because it always is manifesting in all of the ways through us. So we might feel much more compassion, more sensitivity, and at the same time, it's important to check in with yourself. Am I right now wanting to expand my sense of safety and home, perhaps at the cost of something else? Am I trying to overprotect something and therefore missing out on an important connection, on an important nourishment? And all of these aspects are happening in a square with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So this is also still triggering all of those topics and those challenges of questioning, how can we really feel nourished collectively? How can we also expand our sense of, protection? Jupiter is also really the protector and the bringer of abundance, and it's also the loyalty that we can trust upon, that we can count on to provide, to be there, to be present, to show up, to expand, to celebrate, to bring joy. But that is in challenge with what is personal, what is the personal feeling. That is maybe also sometimes at the cost of a portion of our ego, our personality, or our will. So it might feel also conflicting right now to feel a sense of safety, a sense of home, a sense of nourishment. And then some aspect of the will, of the self, of the ego might have to accept a limitation. And the other way around, we might really want to expand, and then our sense of self, our ego, our willpower might have to experience a different kind of limitation. But no matter what we're trying to do, we might constantly feel like there's no way out of feeling challenged, there's no way out of feeling like either or, and constantly having to balance and navigate really the precise things that are contributing here. With Neptune, it's also a moment where we might find it challenging to imagine and envision ourselves within that space of feeling home, of feeling safe. Yeah. Or it might be hard to imagine that our personality can really be lived out while at the same time providing comfort and safety and nourishment in the home, in the heart, with the collective needs, with the sensitivity, with the ancestral understanding of life. So we are really in a big process of communicating here with some delicate matters. What comes on top of that is that the Sun, Moon, and Jupiter, they are in what is called an inconjunct. Another word for that is a quincunx aspect to Pluto. So this is basically when there's two aspects that are not in opposition, but 150 degrees. And while aspects in opposition are challenged by each other, they are at least really able to communicate with each other, and they are also within the same modality. So they're either both cardinal, or both fixed, or both mutable. But now with the quincunx, we have a different element, we have a different modality, and the aspects there find it really hard to find agreement and even to see each other's needs and to really accept that they both can have like a meeting point. So this new moon is happening in quincunx to Pluto, and this might make it really difficult right now for us to understand the evolution, the evolutionary intent, the evolutionary purpose, but it may also find it really difficult to feel like we are able to tend to our needs of safety, of comfort, of nourishment, of compassion, to our heart's needs, and to feel joy, to feel love, to feel like we belong. And that might feel like it doesn't fit what we think is our evolutionary step that we have to take, or it might not fit to what we believe how the world is supposed to change or going to change or what needs to be done. And it might also be in confrontation with actually the underworld aspects, the own inner shadows that are demanding certain changes. It might feel really challenging right now to feel like you have to accept something. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to put this all into words because these are very big emotions and very big abstract themes that can go into so many different detailed directions. So it will of course look different for everybody's life, but also collectively we really notice this right now, that there's so much tension, there's so much rebellion, and there's so much action happening right now. And at the same time, it feels really like all of this is really in contradiction with the evolution of a humanity that is really striving towards more love, more compassion, more healing, more sensitivity. And it's really difficult to understand how is that actually being implemented. There's no way in which these viewpoints can find a way to feel like they are somehow collaborating right now. And that is part of the challenge right now, is holding that, sitting with that confusion and with that frustration. We do also have some planets that are making sextiles, which is of course always a bit helpful. We do have a sextile between the new moon and Mars. Mars is in Virgo and will be continuing to travel across the South Node in the next 2 weeks. So this is also supportive for us to find actions, to find really small, delicate, detailed, specific things that can help us right now, especially things that you can do on your own, that are sovereign for you to take action upon. And also things that are, connected to being able to digest things, everything that is going on right now, finding ways to digest that information. With the South Node, of course, we're going to be confronted with, what do we do with that? Yeah, do we fall into repetition? Or do we really integrate that? Do we use that understanding and that action to utilize that South Node energy in a way in which we are leveraging our talents, our skills, leveraging what we already know without falling into the trap of believing that that is the only way and that is the way in which things shall continue forever. That is the tricky part, is you doing what you know to help you right now, and at the same time leaving that space for things to not eternally be as you know it now, and to not over rely on what you know to work always working, because things will be changing and we will have to come up with new solutions and new ways. And that is the whole integration process, where we cannot eternally rely on the same thing because things actually won't be the same. But right now, in the small moments and in the daily life, those things still can be a supportive anchor to help us feel a moment of relief in the heart, to help us feel a moment of connection, of compassion, of whatever it is, of belonging, of really receiving the nutrients also that we need to continue. We have another sextile between Mercury and Uranus, so there is an energy that helps us process things, but also helps us to speak those things out. That also supports us in understanding different layers, different perspectives. Yeah, Mercury travels between the realms and the dimensions, and we're able to see different layers of what is happening on the earth and in our bodies and in the physical, stable place that you are in. So having like a multifaceted perspective, but essentially it's more about feeling, because Mercury is in Cancer, so having a multifaceted way of feeling and essentially understanding how to, switch back and forth between those changes, those eruptions, and being able to process those eruptions and emotionally move yourself through it, through what is happening. And we have another sextile between Venus and the North Node. Venus is in Taurus right now, so this is another helpful aspect right now that is supporting us in understanding what we may be afraid of, but essentially may also be part of the solution, what is part of the future that we're looking at, that we're looking towards. North Node is in Pisces. Venus is still supporting us in desiring a vision of collective, humanitarian, benevolent feelings of well-being, of peace, of love, of connection, of mutual understanding. And we are able to notice really what the body needs. And that includes your own body. That includes the earth body. Yeah, so this is also a time where we're going to be having conversations more and more, again and again. Like, they've never stopped. These conversations have always been happening, but right now I feel it's especially important, yeah, to have those conversations of our home, my home, this place where I live. What is it feeling? What am I feeling? How am I contributing to what it is feeling? And so this square, yeah, Saturn, Neptune, the new moon, and Jupiter, is also bringing up some uncomfortable questions of how do I maybe need to limit myself, limit my own actions? How do I need to alter my dreams? Or which visions do I need to craft and do I need to bring forth into the world, birth into the world, in order to support and protect and be benevolent and be loyal to the home? But with Venus in sextile to the North Node in Pisces, we are understanding more and more this home is connected to what is earth, is connected to what is body, but is also connected to what is planet, what is physical, what is material. And those material things matter, but maybe they don't matter in the way that we thought that they mattered. Our egos are also changing, yeah? Saturn and Neptune in the first degrees of Aries is really also bringing us a deep process of our ego is changing, yeah? We're learning to arrive in a new way, to walk the earth and be the fool jumping over the mountains in a new way. Ultimately, to bring more wisdom and more reflectedness, but right now in these first degrees, this is a moment where there might be still some rebellion of that wisdom needing to be implemented, because it does require of the self, it does require of me, it does require of you yourself, it requires of the individual, it requires of the personal. And yeah, noticing right now a highlight of what are those challenges. That brings up, of course, the question of what are these political issues right now that are actually not protecting the home, that are actually creating more unsafety. And what are the earth issues right now that are actually creating more instability and more eruptions, and the sea levels are rising and the forests are burning. And what do I individually have to do with that? And what can I individually do in order to contribute to that Jupiterian feeling arriving in Cancer there with the new moon? That sense of protection, that sense of abundance. And this feels challenging. This may feel like I don't know, or it feels like it clashes with what I thought was my evolutionary purpose, or it may feel like it clashes with what I want life to evolve like, what I want my life to look like. And this is an intense situation. But this is also a real moment of opportunity to deeply feel, because we are moving through the waters of understanding the cycles of the history. The Cancer energy is really connecting us to the information that has been flowing eternally, connecting us to the wisdom of the ancestral blood that we have inside, the DNA that has been transported like rivers flowing, and of course also the wisdom that has been by the land itself flowing, the rivers, what they have been speaking, and the rains when they fall, how they are bringing nourishment, and witnessing that and remembering that. At the same time, too much of a certain, like too much quantity of a certain quality can also be devastating, can also be disruptive. Yeah, a flash flood that is just able to clear everything out and rip things away and destroy. So this is a moment to understand really how details contribute to the big picture. These are all really big picture questions and feelings and moments right now with all of these generational planets. I mean, these are collective topics that are really being touched upon right now. And so we are all feeling that collectiveness. We are looking into the world more and more, understanding us collectively as a collective people living here collectively on a planet that are in interconnection with each other, which is the whole understanding and realization that we are moving into with this new epoch that has begun in 2020, moving into the era of air, really understanding the interconnectedness. We have also some very interesting Sabian symbols, which is a sequence of channeled symbols for each degree of the zodiac. It's very interesting when you look at what these headlines, these pictorial images are showing us for what is going on right now. And I would like to read some of those headlines to you, because it's very interesting when we look at how all of this is unfolding together. I hope you can still hear me well, because it started raining very heavily outside as we're expanding this Cancerian energy. The water has come to join us. And so where the new moon is taking place in 4 degrees of Cancer, we have the channeled symbol of, at a railroad crossing, an automobile is wrecked by a train. The tragic results which are likely to occur when the individual's will pits itself carelessly against the power of the collective will and society. We have Jupiter in 3 degrees of Cancer, where the symbol reads, a cat arguing with a mouse, an attempt of self-justification. One argues with oneself, hoping to convince oneself that the old impulses are still legitimate. Hesitancy and conflicting motives may arise. So this is Jupiter's energy right now. This is what is expanding at this moment right now. Yeah, it's a moment where we find it really hard to combine and connect our personal will with what we feel is collectively necessary, or what the collective energy is really demanding. And at the same time, we see that some of these things are outdated that we are wanting and desiring and doing. And yet there's a moment where we have an attempt to justify things and to crave finding legitimacy for what we are used to doing. And I would like to also read the headlines for where the Jupiter squares have been taking place, actually. Jupiter squaring Neptune and Jupiter squaring Saturn directly. So the degree where Saturn was, the Sabian symbol reads, a comedian reveals human nature, the capacity to look objectively at oneself and others. And where Jupiter was, it reads, a man on a magic carpet hovers over a large area of land. Ability to expand one's consciousness by stabilizing one's point of view at a higher level. So this is about really the way in which we look at things, the way in which we look at ourselves, the way in which we are able to zone out and take on a different perspective, and also objectively look at things, including yourself. And this is where with Aries and Saturn, it's like we're demanding new structures, we're demanding limitations of the ego in order to have more objective view. And with Jupiter in Cancer, we are really noticing how to include important aspects that are important, that are ultimately stabilizing us, while at the moment it can feel like this challenging, emotional, it may feel like instability. But all of this is necessary to really stabilize us as we transition from one whole way of being in this Earth era to moving into the way of being in this air epoch. And so the other square, Jupiter and Neptune, 2 degrees of Cancer, where Jupiter was sitting, it reads, "A man bundled in fur leads a shaggy deer. The need to overcome stagnation and cold during a trial of endurance." And Neptune in 2 degrees of Aries reads, "The cameo profile of a man suggesting the shape of his country, the sustaining power of the whole as the individual identifies himself with life." So this again is showing us this is a trial of endurance. This is a transitioning moment. This is moving from one place to the other. And there's a stagnation that may feel like it is wanting to be there, while actually the evolution is wanting to be there. And the stagnation is wanting to happen in the area of the feeling and of the home and of wanting to feel comfortable and of also wanting to feel abundant. This idea that if I give up this thing in life, I feel less abundant, and therefore I am continuing to hoard and continuing to greedily just take for myself. But actually that's not in alignment anymore with a new collective sense of interconnectedness, with a new collective experience of safety for all, with a new experience that is rooted in ancestral wisdom, that is rooted in actual heart awareness. And so with Neptune in Aries, where we had the cameo of a face with the profile of a whole country, what are we really identifying ourselves with? And also maybe an individual also being able to take representative actions for an entire country. That can go both ways. That can be in the terms of nationalism, extremism, but it can also be in one person trying to make amends, to reach out a hand of healing, in initiating a process of change, or a process for an entire country, a process of awareness, of understanding something. The sustaining power of the whole as an individual identifies himself with life. This is also really about understanding what you identify yourself with is how is that shaping and impacting your sense of belonging, your home, your feelings. When you identify yourself also with things that are disappearing around you, or that are unstable, that affects how secure you feel, that affects how much fear you experience in your daily life, that affects how confident you are with yourself and your personality and your actions and your purpose and meaning of life. So also understanding how those things are connected, and where now with Jupiter, there's an invitation to expand that sense of belonging and feeling and home and safety, to both include the individual, but ultimately include a new way of stepping into life, a new way of understanding your purpose and your willpower and your drive and momentum. And so this is a moment for that. I wanted to make this a really short reading because I felt like the energy was already so demanding and so rich that I felt it might be best to keep it short and to just let it simply resonate in our hearts. But of course, this is hardly possible when so much is happening. And perhaps there's also a time for, expanding, taking some moments to actually expand on things so we can reach a feeling, so we can access certain emotions of compassion, of sensitivity, of love. Cancer is also the heart. That is also love. That is also your belonging as a part of life. Your belonging as energy that is conscious. Your belonging to certain families of elements and nature, and you being one of a planet, one of a whole species, one of a whole universe, belonging within that universe, belonging within existence itself. And so just to finish off this reading and to give us some support and some guidance from an even more intuitive place and directly from the spirits of the planets that we have been addressing, I ask for a message to inspire us, to remind us of what is important, of what will support us, and to, something that we can be in communication with, offering us support at this time. So I'm shuffling here the cards. I have the Dream Vision Tarot deck with me. And I'm feeling that it is this card, actually. And this is the Two of Wands. This is the energy of fire, the energy of spirit, the number of balancing, of harmonizing. And with this card specifically, we see this huge sphere, this big planet moving in between a gate. And I think this is really a reminder for us that this is indeed, I've said it already and I'm gonna say it again, a moment of transition. And you might be tired of the word, you might be tired and feeling like, transition, what does that mean? When is it over? I'm tired, I'm exhausted. And also life is always in transition, right? We're always transitioning from the past to the future via the present. So each present moment is a moment of transition. And I think that's the invitation here. This is what this moment of transition requires, is presence. Presence. And when we have that presence, that is when we get our present. Our presents, also our gifts, our presents. And that is what Jupiter is. Jupiter is the bringer of gifts. Jupiter is the one benevolently enriching and giving and offering. And this feels like a huge Jupiter going through the gates, going through the portal. This is really a moment of understanding that two seemingly opposite things are always able to actually collaborate. In fact, that is the whole premise, that is the whole basis of life, of the duality of our nature. For example, masculine and feminine energy being able to actually procreate and make another life. Procreation. This is one of the ways in which we are shown that things that are seemingly different find a way to actually fit perfectly together, and through that union are in that space of creation are actually creating a continuation of life, a renewal of life, a new body that is not old, that is fresh, that is young, that has just been birthed. And so with these things that are seemingly opposite, where we find so many contradictions, there is in fact a way for something to be created from that. Something that is fresh, renewed, something that will last for many more years than the two opposing factors here. And so I think this is a reminder to, with the wands, with the fire element, to really have faith and belief in the possibility, but also understanding spiritually, how does that union function? How does that union happen? What is needed for two opposites to actually fit together? Where do they meet? What makes them reject or attract each other? How do magnets work, for example? How do we need to put magnets together so that they stick together or that they repulse each other? How is that gate essentially shaped? Yeah. And we need to stand and we need to witness in presence. We are witnesses right now. And what we are doing while witnessing, it's not a witnessing that is rooted in inaction. Yeah. But it is a witnessing that is rooted in an understanding. This card is not telling us about which actions should we take, which actions should we not take. This card is telling us about what we need to spiritually remember and what we need to believe. We need to believe that this is a passing moment. We need to believe that this is a transition moment. We need to believe also that this space is big enough to fit, yeah, to fit something through that wants to be moved through. It's like we're the midwives of this big cosmic birth happening. And we need to trust that the child itself knows how to birth itself, which is actually what happens. Yeah, a child inside of the body of the mother or of the birth person is really actively participating. And the person birthing and the child inside, they're mysteriously communicating with each other. So I feel this as an invitation to really understand, how do things that are opposite actually create space for something new? And this is also helping us to mediate conflicts. How do two different perspectives that clash, that want completely different things, how can they find a way to come together and birth something new? And sometimes that means giving up some of each of their egos to actually not meet the other person in their place and not meet the other person in their place, but both people actually meeting a new thing in a new place. How can we reach that? How can we craft new spaces together that are honoring the differences as complementary, that are not in competition with each other, but that are honoring each as an important pillar, creating a portal for something. Yeah, so I feel that is our invitation. That is what we can come back to, reflect upon, meditate upon throughout these next 2 weeks. And with that, I want to say thank you to you for listening. Thank you to the archetypes, to the planets, the cosmos for showing itself to us in these ways for you and me to embody here and experience this life, to be here. This is an amazing thing that you are doing, being here, being alive, choosing to be here. And you are powerful with your being. And you are important. And you matter, and you have access to solutions, to wisdom. You are in co-creation with energy. You are energy. And I feel you. And I'm sure you can feel me too. And we can feel each other more and more. And that may require of some changes to happen in our personal lives, and that's going to be okay. Because something amazing is being birthed, is being born, wants to come through, and might be hard to imagine right now. So it's important to just take small steps, intentional daily actions. So thank you so much for joining us today here, for coming back to these videos. Thank you for subscribing. It means so much to me. Every single person who comments, who likes the video, who subscribes, who listens. It means a lot to me to receive your feedback, to hear the impact that this has on you. And I always am so curious to hear what knowledge comes through you. What is your wisdom? What are you experiencing right now? How are you able to move through this intensity? And what are you learning right now about your own sense of safety, about your own sense of home? We can always learn so much from each other. So feel free to comment your new moon intention and share it with us so we can collectively also support that with each other's energy. If you want guidance for your personal transition time, if you want one-on-one support from me, you can contact me. The links are below, and you can have a reading with me from astrology to understand your natal chart or the transits that are happening better. We can work with tarot to really get some messages, some channelings, to really look at what is energetically happening and to find some support for you right now. We can also work with systemic constellation, which is an amazing tool to really make invisible things come to the surface, make them visible, but also to rearrange things in the field. Yeah, it's an amazing tool to actually induce changes in your life, overcome blockages. I have a free discovery call that you can also book via my website. And I would be really happy to support you either online or in person if you're in Berlin. And if you would like to hear more from me, my music, check out some of my art films. I will leave all of those links below. I am a very creative person and I do a lot of many different things. And yeah, maybe some of that will also touch and inspire you. And with that, I hope that you return next time. If you like this video, please share it with people that you know will enjoy it. And I hope that you are having a beautiful new moon, that you are able to find an intention that fits your life right now, that fits the collective right now, and that you are able to plant that seed in your heart and water it and nourish it. From my heart to yours, lots of love, and I'll see you next time.